Hello, this is Sickled Pickle. We're from the Duke Hospital in North Carolina. So this guy has been witch hunting me for whatever reason on my post. So um, I'm just going to quickly prove that I am currently in hospital from my illness. I often spend time here, so I have a few things with me. I got a little. Let me unplug this. Got a got a little bag here that has um, let's see. I can't get up and turn the light on right now because, well, I can't walk. I have a lot of pain in my legs, so I'm just gonna use like my laptop as light. But I don't know if you could see. I'm gonna try to. I also want to prove the date, but I don't want to show any personal information. So this here is my laptop. Um, As you can see, I play some games. Yeah, I'm sure you're gonna see Honey Pop. I enjoyed 100%ing that, because again, like I said, I'm a lonely dude, and I'm not afraid to say it. There's not many ladies out there who would be with a guy who has sickle cell. I shared some of my heartbreaks with other people just to talk about it and get it off my mind. I'm not some dude making up stories. I'm lucky to have been able to live to see 30 um, because doctors told my mom I wouldn't live to see 18. So, yeah, here is the date. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if I can. Here's the date and time. It's 9:58 p.m. 12/26/2020. Make sure I'm getting it. But yeah. So yeah, as you can see, I have a laptop here with me. Um, this thing in this little bag here. I'm just gonna pull stuff out one by one and show you real quick. I don't want this to be a long video. I have a Nintendo 2DS with me. I got it when I can afford it because I don't have a lot of money. I live off a government check, and it's not a lot of money to live off of. At one time, when I was living with my friend, his mom in Detroit, before I moved to North Carolina with my own mother, I was able to buy it because she didn't ask a lot from me for rent. So I was able to use most of my check to, pay off some of my debts and, to do some things for myself. Uh, a Nintendo Game Boy Advance SP, the blue, and yes, it still works. It's got Super Mario Bros. In it currently. One of my favorite games of all time. Let me see if I can get it out there. Yeah, so there's that. I have a few other games like Tetris, Pac-Man, and things like that. Make sure I put this back in the correct spot. I'm very meticulous and weird about how I do things. I'm not gonna say I'm OCD because I haven't been diagnosed with OCD. Um, but like I'm just very particular about how I do things. But yeah, I'm not some dude making up things. Yes, I have been in a coma. It was in 2009. Um, it was a little after I had just turned 19. About almost a little bit over a year after I graduated. It was one of my worst sickle cell crises ever, and I woke up and I had amnesia for 2 weeks. I looked my mother dead in her face and told her I didn't know her. And when I learned that, it broke my heart. Because no mother should have to hear her son or child, period, say that to her because they've been in a coma due to complications from their illness. Um, you know, and then, I was one of the first ones. There was, what is it? I had again, before I moved here in North Carolina. So my mom moved to North Carolina before me. She moved here in 2011. About 2 years after I had that incident, she was sick of Detroit. She said it was depressing her. And I lived there by myself until 2014 when I moved in with a friend. The December of 2014, it was like Christmas Eve because I helped my friend's mom put up the Christmas tree. Um, I wasn't feeling well, so I asked her to take me to the hospital. Because I know what pneumonia feels like. I've had pneumonia and acute chest syndrome plenty of times. Anyway, she gets me to the hospital. And of course, they're like, they do x rays after I told them my symptoms: chest pain, back pain, difficulty breathing. The pain is in like the upper mid back. And where the chest pain is, it's like all across. It's like bilateral chest pain. Um, they do an X-ray, of course. They're like, there's fluid in your lungs. You have pneumonia. We're gonna keep you, because as someone with sickle cell, that's not something I can. My body can't defeat that on its own. I need medical attention. So they're like, okay, you're admitted. We're gonna get you a room. And then the nurse comes back. She tells me, we have a room ready for you. Now you just need to wait for a bed. So I'm sitting in a wheelchair and I fall asleep. I wake up a few days later and my mom is there. Now my mom, as I said, she moved to North Carolina in 2011. It's 2014. So I wake up and see my mom there. I know something bad has happened. I look at her like, what's going on? But I can't even ask her the question what's going on because there's a tooth in my throat. So I look at her and I kind of shrug my shoulders and she's like, oh, sweetie, you had a heart attack in your sleep. They don't know how it was caused because again, I'm I'm only 24 years old. I don't eat like a raccoon and I walk very often because I don't have a car or a bike. So I walk everywhere I need to go. Um, so yeah, it's like you had a heart attack in your sleep. And also the whole floor is like on quarantine, She had to wear like a suit to come see me because some guy came in. He had SARS. He didn't tell anybody. He came in with symptoms and they assumed it was pneumonia, just like, it was for me. It's kind of like, how COVID was mistaken as something else. I would say SARS is a precursor to that. But anyway, he doesn't tell anyone. And then, a nurse gets sick. And, nurses, they go see like three or four patients. So, then you have nurse assistants who also see three or four patients. And sometimes other nurses take over before you know it, the entire floor has SARS. So the nurses who have it, they take off and self quarantine at home. Other nurses have to like fulfill their shifts and take like an entire nurse's workload, while they recover at home. So they have to like do double shifts and things like that. That was a very hectic time when I was sick and had SARS. I was in that quarantine for about 2 weeks. Because that whole hospital, actually, it was about 3 weeks. The whole hospital stay, it was about almost 2 months for me. It was of course 3 weeks for recovering from SARS alone. Recovering from the heart attack was almost a 2 month period, and the pneumonia I recovered from that 4 weeks later. I recovered from the SARS first, and then the pneumonia because it was very difficult to get rid of the pneumonia while I had SARS. But once I recovered from SARS, recovering from pneumonia became easier with antibiotics. And then the heart pain and things like that. They wanted to keep me and monitor me for a while, but after the chest pain finally went away, I was able to go home. After that incident, my mom begged me to move to North Carolina. I didn't want to move. I didn't. I don't want to leave my friends, and I still have family in Detroit, my little brother. But she begged me and begged me, so I moved her to North Carolina. Um, I have many other stories I can share about, being in the ICU after I got my first blood clot in my leg, and I ended up in the ICU. I've ended up in the ICU for getting um, a UTI. I don't know how a guy gets a UTI. I didn't even know it was possible, but I got a UTI. Ended up in the ICU for a couple weeks. I was put on a Dilaudid pump, and a ketamine drip, and it drove like the ketamine made me hallucinate. I was getting a blood transfusion, and I thought my IV line was a taco, and I bit into it, and blood was everywhere. I have lots of stories I could talk about because again, some people might call these things interesting, or some people might say whatever, they're boring. I've heard worse things happen. It's just that with my illness, a lot of things has happened to me, and I have a lot of stories I can tell. I have a lot of stories I can share. I've had a lot of good and bad experiences dealing with people. Some people are very encouraging, some people not so much. Like the incident with my ex girlfriend. Um, it's like her mom said to her, I don't want sick grandchildren. If you guys get married and have grandchildren, they're gonna have sickle cell, and I don't want sick grandchildren. I want healthy grandchildren. I don't want to have to worry about, my grandchildren getting sick like he does. Um, At the time, me being me turning 16, I was upset. She broke up with me on my birthday. And her mom had her do that, so that, there would be no hope of us getting back together. And of course, if I had just thought it was her, there would have been no hope. But when her little brother told me it was her mom's idea and she forced her to, um, I was more open to getting back with her, but things just didn't work out that way. They didn't. And then while we were, I learned about her getting married and having children with a guy after I left. Um, but I had already moved. There was no chance of us getting back together. We're still friends to this day. We don't talk often, but every now and then I'll check up on her, or she'll check up on me. But yeah, it was depressing. That's not something that I would make up because I like to tell stories, dude. No, that actually happened to me, and it was hard for me to get over. It was the first time that I experienced depression. I was 16 years old. I sat in my attic window contemplating if I should just, jump out, or if life was even worth living. Yeah, that might have been a bit too far for a breakup, but it wasn't for me. I loved her. We loved each other and the love was real. It was like, my first time loving someone outside of a family member. But this has gone on for too long. I'm not sure if I can even post this to Reddit all in one go. I don't know if I can chop it up in pieces on my phone. I might have to find some editing software. Point is, I'm not some kid in his mid 20s making up stories because he's bored and because he's like seeking attention or chasing clout or whatever you kids want to call it. I'm a 30-year-old man. I was born in the 90s, and I like to, I didn't always share this stuff with people, but I've come out of my shell a bit more over the years to share my experiences with other people because you never know how your experiences can help other people get over their depression or their struggles that they're going through. You never know, dude. So, it'd be cool if you believe me, but you probably won't. But I'll leave that up to you and the other people. But anyway, like I said, this explanation or video or whatever has dragged on long enough. If anybody watched the whole thing, thank you for listening, and even considering watching. I hope you all have a great day. I hope you all have had a great Christmas or holiday or whatever it is you celebrate. And I hope you all have a great New Year. Goodbye and God bless.